Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to be discussing the move of PeopleSoft applications from on-premise data centers to the Oracle Compute Cloud, and a little information about what exactly Oracle Cloud Compute and the various names that Oracle's now calling it is. We're attempting a new shorter format for this webinar today, and we'll not be taking questions at the end. However, feel free to type them in the question box, and we're going to take time to get back to each and every one of those and answer them for you. Your panel of speakers today will include myself, Troy Vilmaer. I'm the Vice President here at BTRG. I'll be joined with Russ Clark, BTRG Sales Manager, Don Gardner, BTRG's Director of Technology, and David Zielinski, BTRG's IT Manager. For those that aren't familiar with BTRG, here's a snapshot of our capabilities. Our DNA is PeopleSoft. We started with it about 25 years ago, have upgraded or implemented every major release since the inception of the product. We now do Oracle Cloud applications. We do a lot of business process transformation work, a lot of migration to the cloud. People are moving on-premise applications to Oracle's hosted solution. We also have a full suite of managed services now that we all offer around cloud and PeopleSoft, both infrastructure and application. We'll talk a little bit about that at the end. So as part of our new format for the webinar, we're going to deliver our content in a more conversational manner. Hopefully that'll keep the dialogue a little more engaging, a little lighter. I know myself, when I listen to webinars, it's difficult to just hear someone very monotone voice speak a lot of words and show a lot of pictures. So we're going to sort of keep this interactive between the panel here, and hopefully that'll be a much easier way to deliver information that's digestible. So with that being said, here's the agenda today. We're going to talk about why you should care. Why are you even dialed into this thing here today? And we'll sort of explain the trend in the marketplace and where that's going. Second, is it for me and my organization? Is this a right fix for everyone? May or may not be. We'll talk about that a little bit. Second, if I decide to investigate this direction, where do I start? And then we're going to talk about, if I go down that path, what does it look like to actually move my data from on-premise to the cloud? And then are there other ways to save? And then we'll look at the questions that are delivered and get back to you after that. So diving into this thing, some of this is going to be regurgitation from some of what was talked about by Mark Hurd, the CEO of Oracle at Open World. And really it boils down to this, and these things sort of drive this trend we see in streamlining cost and reducing budgets and trying to free up more money from maintaining status quo. The corporate fundamentals and the four things that really drive a company are grow revenue, right, and gain share. That's what creates job opportunities and expansion. The second, and sort of almost alternative to that, is lower spend. So you want to grow revenue, lower your spend, improve your cash flow, and at the same time manage risk. So it's a lot of very important things that come into play here when you look about the success of an organization. As that's happening, pressure is growing. Technology, innovation, and consumer adoption are increasing faster than IT can seem to keep up. A lot of folks are using 20-year-old systems and applications to do cutting-edge type of things, and it's very difficult and slows the process down, almost like corporate cholesterol, I like to say. And then the big one here, and a big takeaway, is 80% of budget is spent on maintenance. That's sort of a scary statistic, that only 20% is left over for innovation. So we're going to talk about how to make that 80% a little bit less, and how to put more money into your innovation budget to move forward. I won't go through all of these, but I thought these were some good ones. These were some predictions that Mark talked about by 2025. They predict 80% of production applications will be on the cloud. He also predicted that 2 SaaS suite providers will have 80% of the market share. The number of corporate-owned data centers will have decreased by 80%, and that's sort of what we're going to be talking about today. 80% of IT budgets will be spent on cloud services. 80% of IT budgets will be spent on business innovation, and 20% on maintenance. If you remember the slide ago, it's an exact flip-flop of what we talked about where we are today, where 80% is spent on maintenance and only 20% on business innovation. So that's what we're sort of driving toward and helping out there. All enterprise data will be stored in the cloud. I think that's an easy one to see coming. 100% of application development and testing will be conducted in the cloud. Then enterprise clouds will be the most secure place for IT processing. Along with just making these blanket statements, which are fairly easy to do, he backed it up with some statistics, which I think are important. And here it's by 2025, the number of corporate-owned data centers will decrease by 80%. If you see the trend in 2016 and 2017, you already see the percent decline happening in the marketplace. In our discussions with clients, very few and far between do we talk to somebody that we're not having this discussion with. Again, freeing up more of that innovation budget and taking it away from just keeping the lights on type of activity. Next on line here is by 2025, 100% of application development and testing will be conducted in the cloud. You see here, and these are real numbers, in 2016 and 2017, it went from 45% to 52%. And then in 2018, they don't have that number yet, but you can obviously see the trend and where that's going. So good statistics to back up what they're talking about here. Another prediction, by 2025, all enterprise data will be stored in the cloud. You see already 65% of enterprise data, and this goes through across multiple apps and processes, right? It's already stored in the cloud. They're expecting by 2020, which is fairly quick, what are we looking at, about 2 years, 88% will be stored on the cloud. So it's an intriguing trend. It's a little bit more than a trend. It's becoming realistic pretty quickly here. Now the Oracle Cloud, I think it's a couple things are important to understand as we talk about making this move. What is it? It's scaled, it's optimized, there's secure stacks all in the Oracle walls here. Standards are going to be built in, or already are. But what the big thing is the burden is now on the industry, or not the consumer. You know, a lot of our customers, you know, they worry. This is a big part of their day, is just maintaining these systems, monitoring databases, tuning databases, patching, all the things that go along with that. That's no longer a burden for the customer. It's going to be a burden for Oracle, and that's where the shift that you want to see coming. Why do it? That's an easy one. Significantly lower total cost of ownership. This one's being proved out day after day. I think in the beginning, a lot of people were very hesitant about, are those savings real? I can tell you right now, with what we see in clients making this move, they are being realized. So it's a good thing to see that. Again, why? It gives you opportunity to innovate. It's more secure. There's going to be emerging technologies that are going to be delivered into Oracle apps and databases. If you went to Oracle Open World this year, they talked about AI-driven databases. All that will be a part of this. Again, you get to keep your PeopleSoft investment. I know a lot of the folks on the call today, you've done a lot of investment and customization and baking out of your PeopleSoft application, and it just plain works. It's solid and it works. You don't want to leave that. You can keep that just as it is today. Just get the benefits of the cloud economics behind it, which is a good thing. Secondly, with this move to the cloud, you get access to something called Cloud Manager, and we'll explain a little bit about what that is, but it's definitely a game changer in how you're going to interact with databases and data in your system. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Russ, and we can talk a little bit about why you should care.
Thanks, Troy. Yeah, and I think Troy covered quite a few of why you should care topics. I'm going to go into a few more details, but I think it's obvious that cloud is the future. And if you're not actively trying to get to the cloud, you're going to be behind the game in terms of your competitors. You know, there's a lot of numbers on this graph here, but I think what is obvious and what is clear is that there's a trend upwards, and that cloud is not a fad. It's not going away. And actually, it's the highest growing area in IT spend. You see the public cloud computing was up 19% from 2015 to 2020 over the past 5 years, and that's only going upwards. So I think that's something to keep in mind. This is a CIO survey on the right here, but cloud has a measurable impact. And what I mean by that is that 74% said that CIOs said that cloud computing would have the most measurable impact on their business. And some of the measurable impact areas are in areas of high importance, obviously. Innovation, scalability, and cost. They're the three major ones, but there's a lot more opportunities for impact that we'll talk about as we go. So the opportunities for savings, again, on the right here, that's a chart that outlines all the areas of costs associated with on-premise environments. As you can see, there are many. With cloud, many of these go away or are at least greatly reduced. And you know, the opportunity for savings is the big part of this. I think, you know, as Troy was discussing, getting more share into innovation and less away from maintenance, and that's what the opportunities for savings can do for you. But with that said, it's more than just savings. I kind of mentioned before the scalability factor, easily scale up and down your environments, shorter innovation cycles, and increased security. And ultimately, you're getting more for less. You're paying less for what you currently have now, and you're getting a little bit more even. So those are some of the 4 reasons why you really should care about this, and I think why you really should be taking a look at moving your environments to the cloud. So where did some of these savings come from? The first one is the biggest one probably, and that's zero capital expense. And when you own your own environment, you obviously have to plan for hardware refreshes. Typically, our clients are saying they're every 4 to 5 years, and that's really where a big part of the savings come from. That you don't have that large impact of a financial burden every couple of years. Additionally, you don't have the unplanned infrastructure expenses. So, if you need to scale, you don't need to go out and buy new hardware. If you have a repair or need to replace hardware, that is no longer an issue. Really, your environments become like a utility. It's a fixed price. You know what you're getting. And kind of in the utility frame of mind, lower power costs. Obviously, you're not running the hardware in your internal environment, and you will save money on your power costs as well. And this one is interesting. So realign workforce. And really what we're finding is that a large majority of our clients have critical employees spending a large amount of their time fixing bugs and glitches. Your organizations are paying these very knowledgeable employees to do work that they should not need to focus on. So what we recommend and what we're trying to help our clients get to is deploying these critical employees to areas of innovation that really help drive the business forward. So again, you're saving money from the maintenance side and putting that money into projects on the innovation side, and these employees can help drive those innovation projects. So what does it all mean? The average cost savings is 23%. So going from on-premise to cloud, is going to save you on average 23%, and that's right around what we're seeing with our clients. Obviously there's some more, there's some less, but that's pretty accurate. So, what would that mean to you? What would 23% savings of your IT budget potentially mean? And you can even say, listen, it's probably not 23% for us. It might be more like 10. Even if it's 10 to 15%, you can provide quantifiable innovation projects to really help your business. So what kind of innovations are we seeing or are we recommending? Specifically within PeopleSoft, we're seeing our clients deploy mobile, they're adding new modules, they're implementing PeopleSoft test framework, and they're getting and staying up to date with PUM images. And this is a big one. For those of you on 9.2, we find the biggest struggle for our clients to stay up to date with PUM images is the availability of staff to maintain the up-to-date images. So again, with less staff invested in the day-to-day maintenance, you can have these critical employees really working to stay up to date and deploy new PUM images, and we're finding that it's helping our clients. Our clients who are moving to the cloud are more likely to be up to date on their PUM images than those who are not. So is it for you? I think I'm gonna hand things off to Don now to kind of talk a bit about who's this right for. Don?
All right, thanks, Russ. One thing that you hear often is, isn't Oracle expensive? And there is some confusion there. And one thing I want to clear up right away is there is, when you say Oracle Cloud, you could be saying Oracle Cloud and talking about the cloud software. You could be referring to Oracle Cloud Managed Services, which used to be Oracle Consulting Services, which can get expensive. But what we're talking about here is hosting on Oracle's public cloud. It's sometimes now been rebranded to Oracle Compute Classic. So if you hear that, that's one and the same. Also, most of the customers that we've dealt with, they've also been looking at Amazon, and because they feel like, oh, that's going to be the cheapest way to go. And most of these customers have been pleasantly surprised that that's not the case. Amazon is not cheaper than Oracle, and that's especially true when you try to get down to an apples to apples comparison. An example of that would be how like an OCPU in the compute cloud is equivalent to 2 cores on a physical server. So if you were at Amazon and you were getting pricing on 40 cores, that would equate to 20 OCPUs in the Oracle Compute Cloud. Now, another way that you save money is Oracle has a pay-as-you-go model. They bill on an OCPU per hour, so you only pay for the times that you're running it. So, for example, if you've got a project going on and it's requiring additional environments, let's say you need additional training databases or an environment for parallel testing, you can quickly and easily create that environment and then use it as needed, and then shut them down when you're done, and you've only paid for the time that you had them up. And I'm going to mention that this was already mentioned before about don't lose your investment, but I think it's one of the key reasons, I would say, to take PeopleSoft to the cloud, because there are many PeopleSoft customers out there that have been on PeopleSoft for quite a while. Their whole organization is used to it. They're trained on it. It's a very mature product. And these customers have put a lot of time and money into customizations and bolt-ons that have been created to get their organization's specific business needs addressed. And so the question there is, why throw away that in your quest for cost savings? Another question we get all the time is, what if I'm on SQL Server? Well, it doesn't matter. In any database that you're licensed for, you can put it on Oracle Compute Cloud. We simply, do an export out of your on-premise environment, create the instance in the cloud, and run an import to bring it in. So it's not any more difficult. But if you are on the Oracle database, there's 2 ways you can go. You can bring your own license, your current Oracle license. You can use that. You can put it in the cloud, or you can get a new license through database as a service on the Oracle Cloud, and it's just the license is part of your fee. It's just a little higher per hour fee if you're licensed with database as a service. And with database as a service, they have many offerings as part of this service regarding security, patching and upgrading, backups, disaster recovery. There's some load balancing options you can get. Okay, next slide. Okay, now the question is, so if you're deciding you're going to go this route, so where do you start? Well, we recommend you start by doing a cost analysis. You need to determine what you're spending now and get a detailed look at what your costs are compared to what you're going to spend when you go to run on the cloud.
Yeah, Don. Hey, this is Troy. One thing about that, it's very difficult. A lot of people jumping into this, they're like, how do I determine what I'm spending now? There's so many different components of it between staff and hardware and maintenance and electricity and everything else to keep the lights on there of what you're spending now. BTRG, we do have a matrix that we've developed to help you through that. If you need it, reach out at the end of the presentation, put a note in the notes section or questions. We can definitely get back to you and give you that document, as well as how do you figure out what it will cost. I think that in a minute, Don will show you another sheet that's a sizing sheet that we can work with you through to fill out. So sometimes it's a little bit confusing. Oracle has different verbiage, and you almost need a translator to sort of walk through the process. We've done it many times, and we're very good at doing that. So it's a very cheap way to engage BTRG to help you through the process, and we can shed some light on what you need to do that.
Right, and so now once you've got your cost analysis and you're worried about, well, how am I going to get my data there? Well, something we're going to talk about in detail in a couple of minutes is the lift and shift feature that they have with Cloud Manager. That's a really easy and streamlined way to package up your environment on premise and transmit it to the cloud and just lay it down a configured environment. But it's not the only way to do it. You can also do it in a manual fashion where you on premise you would zip up your mid-tier environments, your web servers, your app servers, and so forth, and transmit them to the cloud, lay them down, and then manually configure everything. And that whole process is timing-wise and effort-wise is somewhat determined by how big your database size is and how many other third-party pieces of software that we're putting on the cloud and configuring. And as far as the timing of this, we recommend that you coincide this with other projects, because If you're just moving to the cloud, you still have a lot of regression testing to do. You have to still kind of go through the migration process of getting dev going, getting your test environments, your QA, and getting it onto prod. So we recommend that you coincide that with one of your other projects, like a PUM update or an upgrade or something. Okay, here's just a quick sample of a simple sizing sheet, and this is for the customer just to tell us, okay, what servers do you have right now that you're running, how many cores, and how much internal storage you've got. In addition to this sizing sheet, we also will sit down with you and help create an infrastructure plan and determine how your network's going to look on the cloud. Like, are you going to have separate LANs for each environment? Or are you going to just have all the lower environments on one LAN and just separate your production in another, and that type of thing? So between the sizing and the layout of your network, we'll come up with a plan of what your cloud environment will look like. So what is the effort? We mentioned the lift and shift tool, which again we'll get into in a little more detail in a minute. But if you're gonna migrate using the lift and shift tool, it's usually about 2 to 4 days per environment, which you could probably, if everything's on the right version and there's nothing terribly complex, you could get it migrated in a couple of weeks. If you're going the manual route, it might take 3 to 6 days for environment, which again, depending on the size of your database and some of the complexity, it could be 4 to 6 weeks to get everything up there. Now that's not including testing phases, because there's points in there where obviously in the project you're gonna pause and you're gonna do some testing, you're gonna get some communication set up and so forth. So like I said before, we recommend that for timing, you coincide this with another project. We're doing this actively for customers right now, and it's working out really well. Like for example, if somebody's on image 8 and they want to go to 23, that's somewhat of a project in itself. So it kind of makes sense to share the testing phases. So we would get a dev environment created on the cloud. We would apply the image to that one, do the unit testing, then we create the test environment on the cloud and so forth. And so when you get to the point where you're ready to go live, you're going live on your new image and in the cloud. It kind of works out good, like I said, sharing the testing process. Okay, now I'm gonna turn it over to Dave Zielinski. He's gonna do a quick little walkthrough of the Cloud Manager.
All right, thanks, Don. So what is the Cloud Manager? What can it do for us? Well, its main purpose is to help us manage your PeopleSoft environments. Once set up, you can easily create and delete new images with just a few easy clicks. You can also start and stop environments as needed. A big part of wanting to use Cloud Manager is the lift and shift utility that Don's mentioned several times here. It gives you the ability to easily migrate your on-prem environments to the cloud. And during that process, you also have the ability to upgrade to the latest PUM image and also upgrade your people tools to the latest version. Lastly, you can upgrade your images in Cloud Manager as they become available after the fact. There are a few minimum requirements. I do want to stress that these minimum requirements are just for using the lift and shift utility. BTRG can still move your environments to the cloud if you don't meet these requirements. We just can't use the Cloud Manager tool. A few things here to point out. You do have to be running PeopleSoft 9.2 on Oracle database, running 11G or 12C with a minimum People Tools version of 8.5.5.12. So with that, we're going to take a look at the Cloud Manager tool. Here's the home page. It shows you all the relevant tabs regarding setting up and using a lift and shift. We create topologies, templates, do the lift and shift process, and then view the environments as a whole. Looking into the topologies here, if we can go to the next slide, yep. That'll allow us to customize the new environments that we set up during the lift and shift. There's a few delivered topologies with the tool, such as the default lift and shift, which is what we're looking at. As you can see, it creates 3 environments, 2 Linux environments, one for the mid-tier and one for the database, along with a Windows environment that gets set up for the PeopleSoft client applications. The sizing here, it refers to the Oracle Compute Cloud shapes. It can be adjusted to your needs to reach pretty much any of the Oracle Compute Cloud shapes, and we can also adjust the disk space of each environment. From there, we move on to the templates. The templates, once you choose an active topology, you specify all the details of the environment. This includes everything from the HTTP port to the database port to usernames and passwords. Once all this is set up, we're going to move on and put the lift and shift utility onto your machine and your environment running PeopleSoft. It's an inline utility. It's going to ask for several variables here that we go through. It only takes a few minutes to go through and put these in, and it'll take you to a summary page then. You just verify all your data, you click yes, and the script starts to run. The script itself will run for several hours, depending on the size of your database and your environment, of course. But what it does is all in one, it packages it up into a DPK and lifts it to the cloud manager. You log back into the web here, excuse me, and you see your environments then, the DPKs that were lifted. From here, you can then create, the environments from these DPKs. You simply just select, drop it down and click create environment, and you can choose the database where you're going to put your database, whether you're going to use Compute Cloud or Database Cloud Services. And at this point, you also select if you want to upgrade your PeopleTools version. As you can see, you can go from 8.5.5 all the way up to 8.5.6 to the current version. You move on, you put in custom attributes, anything that was specified before that might need to be changed now, you can do so kind of as a last minute thing. You're going to move on, click next, and it brings you to the environments here. You see the environments running, you got your basic info, your links directly to the PIA URLs, and you can open up the environments to get a more detailed view. Here on the detailed view, you see the status of the environment. You see all the instances running there. You also have several tabs, a health check, the PUM connections, PeopleTools patching that can be just done right through this web interface. If we go on to the next slide, you can see you'll be running a specific version of PeopleTools, and you can there's literally a drop-down box you click that'll upgrade. You click the version you want to upgrade to, and it'll apply your PeopleTools upgrade directly to your environment through this cloud manager. It really simplifies the processes here. So as you can see, like this cloud manager, it's a really advantageous tool for anybody running these Oracle products. It takes away easy way to manage your environments in one spot, and it takes away from some tedious, complicated tasks, and it literally reduces them to a point-and-click method to upgrade. It's really a fantastic tool to use here.
Yeah,
Wow.
Dave, I want to point out that a lot of people try to compare why, we say if you're on the Oracle stack and Oracle products, it makes sense to go to the Oracle Cloud. This tool is just one of the several reasons that are differentiators for Oracle Compute Cloud with using Oracle products.
Yeah, Don, that's what I was going to reiterate. That's a pretty cool tool. I mean, how far have we come in the past 10 years to be able to click a button and upgrade PeopleTools? It's pretty neat. I know it's not quite that simple, but we're getting there. Next on the list here, I want to go to these what we call advanced savings. So a lot of our clients that are doing this are combining this with managed services and taking a look at how they're managing their systems now and trying to figure out a way to do it without a reduction in quality, but for less cost. And I think that BTRG, and there's a few others out there to be transparent, that are delivering at a high level to do this. So if you look at the managed services overview, and as I mentioned, most of our clients that move to the cloud, they switch managed service providers, and BTRG, it does have offerings to do this when we do this. It's sort of seamless because we're learning about your system as we move it to the cloud, and then we sort of take over the keys to support both infrastructure and application in most cases. So if you look at the trend here, this is a huge growing market segment. And as I mentioned, along with moving to the cloud, you have that same upward trend here, predicted to grow to a $193 billion market by 2019, which is pretty quick, with the growth of 12.5%. So, I don't just say that. A lot of people are doing this. They're looking at options to, again, grab more of that 20% innovation budget and make it larger. And this is another way that we're coupling services to do that. When asked, and this is a survey that we had grabbed off the internet here, when asked why partnering with managed service providers, 56 folks thought it improved efficiency, 27 agreed it was more proactive approach to maintenance, and then when asked how they're using it, it's 70% for repairs and troubleshooting, which again, Russ talked a little bit about earlier. We talked about you have 80% keeping the lights on, and of that 80%, 70% is just doing repairs and troubleshooting. that talent can definitely be redirected in a more positive manner to help strategically your organization. So I think it's important to know that. So our offering, as well as probably some of our competitors, right, we look to right-size support, and here's where we really fine-tune what the offering is. Some folks have the ability to do level 1 application support, so we take on level 2 through 4, whatever that may be. You have components that are already taking care of the infrastructure support, so we sort of augment that. So we work with you, and it's a lengthy meeting to really talk about what your needs are from the support perspective, and then we come back with a price, and usually it's very attractive. So we have a lot of our clients moving in that direction right now, that right size support offering. Next on the list is this proactive solution. A lot of clients that are doing this are experiencing better performance, fewer glitches, less downtime. Our team is focused on performance, not one of your responsibilities anymore, right? So, some of our clients, they do very complex things, yet they have a floor of people just doing application or system support, right? It's not really one of your core strategies for your organization. Get rid of that burden almost, put it to somebody who just specializes that could probably do it for less, and redeploy your folks in a more strategic manner. So at the end of the day, here's just a snapshot of ours, and I know that I've gone over by 3 minutes what I planned, but I'll be quick. Again, here's some of the levels of support we offer on the application managed services. On top of that and throughout it, our strategy, governance, account management, and SLA management. We can do all of these. We can do one of these, depending upon your need. It's that right sizing discussion that we need to have with you. Next on the list is the infrastructure component here, and it works with network and middleware and database and security and storage and backup, everything you need from an infrastructure standpoint. BTRG does have a service to manage that, as well as, again, our full transparency, our competitors as well. We just think we do it a little bit better. And at the end of the day, to summarize what we've talked about today, I think the takeaways are this. The cloud is more than a fad. I mean, coming from an on-premise PeopleSoft DNA background of many, many years, over 25 years, we were skeptics for many years. Now there's just no denying it. This is going to happen. You will be on the cloud in 5 years, 8 years for sure. Whether you want to do it now or then take care of savings or take advantage of that economics of cloud savings sooner than later, that's up to you. But I do think everyone's going to end up there sooner or later. The second is this potential for innovation. And Russ talked about it. I just want to drive this home. What would 20% savings mean for you? You could be a very large company, and 20% savings would be a lot of money, or you could be a small company, and 20% savings could be the differentiator there, right? I always like to think of if you're only having 20% for strategy and innovation, what happens when you have a disruptive technology enter your market sector? Like an Uber or a Netflix or something to that magnitude. It's very difficult to combat that, or even be out in front of that. Be the Uber, be the Netflix, but you're not going to do that when your IT budget is just being spent on keeping the lights on. You don't have a lot to work with to make those kind of strides. The third bullet here is it's easier than you might think. A lot of people could be on this call thinking, oh my gosh, it's a big process. It's a huge shift for us to be able to move on premise to the cloud. A lot of people are involved. It's not that complex. I think we've walked through today. We have some templates for you and matrices to follow to talk about, is it right for you? We can help you work with Oracle to get the pricing that you need, and even the effort to move isn't significant. The cost hours to actually move from on-prem to the cloud and migrate your data, it's not an obstacle for sure. Last but not least, managed services for additional savings. What we're seeing is people aren't just moving to the cloud. They're doing this and looking for additional aspects to save money. BTRG's managed services is extremely popular right now. We have a lot of clients moving in that direction. We're excited about it. It's sort of new for BTRG. So we've done PeopleSoft for many, many years. So our folks that will be supporting you in your organization will not have seen a lot of things, and you'd be shocked if you can surprise us. But again, magnify those savings and utilize your critical staff for something new and innovative, and shake up your organization a little bit. So with that said, I know that hopefully you liked our more people talking. It's not just one person regurgitating a lot of words in a webinar. And I want to thank Russ, Don, and Dave for joining us today. If you have any questions, if you didn't type them in our box here and go to webinar, just write a quick email to sales@btrgroup.com. I'll get it and distribute it accordingly. And we definitely appreciate your time and feedback. If nothing else, send us a quick email saying, hey, we appreciated your webinar. I don't have any questions, but yeah, we like the abbreviated format. We think it's a little bit better. So we're always looking for guidance from our clients, and we really appreciate your time. So with that said, have a great afternoon, and stay tuned. Check out our website for upcoming webinars. Thank you.